your IQ office. So your MLS is feeding to your IQ office. You don't have to manually enter your listings. They're all automatically going to pull here. When you go to that listings tab and look at your listings, as an agent, you only see your listings. As a company, you're going to have a list of every listing that's in here. So as an agent, you can see your listings listed. You can sort them by price. You can also sort them by property type or dates added. How you sort them is up to you. You can also use this search bar tool here to type in an MLS number to find a specific listing. So I can actually go in, I can search for a specific MLS number and it will pull it up here. And again, to get there, I just went to listings and to my listings. Once you're in your listings, I do want to just quick let you know what automatically happens once you get a new listing. And you will be getting a flyer that looks a lot like this one on your screen. It will say, congratulations on your new listing at this address. It will show a little bit about the listing details. It will show how you link to the different pages. So you can either link through to the details page, the single listing website, which is branded with the address, or the showcase page. Simply by clicking on these, you can either view them, you can put them on Facebook, Twitter, or on Pinterest. Below that is a section that says property flyer. And from here, you can easily just click through and you can either download or customize your property flyer. There is a question that Kevin asked, is this new? And yes, it is new in the last couple months. This has been a feature that's been added so that you can easily just start promoting your listing and that you know that it's live. So if you're not inputting your listing, if you're an office that has broker load services, you're alerted and you can actually reach out to your client and say, hey, your listing's live, because you got an email that's letting you know that it's live. The next thing on that email that you're going to get is this postcard. So you can easily go in and order just listed postcards, or you can customize your postcard. All of these are links. So you can actively link through, including sharing your flyer onto your social media. Now, I also do just want to quick mention, as I reshare my screen with you, if you want to customize that flyer that you get so that you know what flyer it is before you get, you can actually go into your profile. So up here in your profile and to your preferences tab. And then there's this section called default property flyer. So I went to my profile, to my preferences tab, and then about halfway down, there's a section that says default property flyer. And I can actually search through all the different property flyers that Realistic has. I can go through and I can look at my company templates for content types. A lot of you have companies that have created flyer templates for you to use. So all of that information is underneath this section. I can say, hey, I actually really like, maybe I want something that is on the market green. And now whenever I get that email, that's the default flyer layout that's going to be used. So you can choose what that default flyer layout is. So that's just a little bit about what happens when your listing goes live. And I think it's really important to remember, Glenn, I'm going to get to that answer and that question in just a moment, that you can easily promote your listing. That flyer, so this email that comes to you, it only comes out at the beginning of your listing. So if you're making updates to your listing, you do not get this email for every update for your listing. It's just a one-time when it's first listed email. The next thing that I do want to talk about and show you is a little bit about what you can do underneath the edit screen. But before that, I do want to just know how many of you have a checklist for what you do for every listing that you take. So you take the listing, you get the listing, and now this is what I do. I fill out my MLS paperwork. I go in and I have a photographer come in. I make sure the sign's up. So we've got about half the people answering. It's always better when more people participate. because I do want to make sure that you know that you have some tools available to you. Cool. So about 50% of you do have a list and 50% of you don't have a list. My daughter grabbed my glasses this morning on our way out the door, and I have a giant fingerprint on them. So you can actually attach a list to your listing. So you now have access to not only action plans for clients, but also action plans for listings. There are some default action plans available to you to use, or you can create your own. That's a webinar for another day. If you want more information on creating your own action plans, you can actually go to the YouTube channel and look that up. But if I go in and I click on my listing at Colonial Drive, I can actually go to the action tab, and then I can add an action plan. So I can say, here's my new listings checklist, add my seller contacts, order postcards, whatever that is, and I click save. It then automatically attaches those actions to the listing. If it is something that I have already done, it automatically will complete that action for me. You also have the ability to auto assign these action plans. So if you say, hey, I built this great action plan, or the company has this great action plan that I'm going to be using for all my new listings, so that I have a checklist that I'm following to make sure that I'm taking care of my listing, you would go up again to your profile and to your preferences. And then underneath default action plans, you would choose a just listed action plan. To do that, you click the magnifying glass, you select the plan you'd like to use, and then you click save. So again, I went to my name, I went to profile, I clicked on preferences, and about halfway down, right underneath that default property flyer, there's a default action plan section. Then whenever you take a new listing, you're going to get that flyer that says, here's all the information, but it's also going to automatically assign an action plan to that listing. What that does is if you have listings or actions that are up, that are due, it's going to show them on your home page so that you can actually go in and complete your checklist for what you need to do to easily promote and take care of your listings. So I do want to also make sure, how many of you are talking to your sellers on a weekly basis? Awesome. So I'm going to show this result to everyone, and I know that some houses don't require more than weekly interaction. Some require follow-up, twice a week. But I don't know how many of you know, I really truly believe that part of taking a listing is continuing to market yourself to the seller and showing your seller what you're doing for them. I think that's a really important thing to do. And so you can actually go to this reports tab, and you can set up a report with the competition, the location, and then the features that you choose to be on that report to automatically go out to your seller. And you can choose to have it go every week, every other week, or once a month, depending on the type of seller that you have. It's really great information. It's detail oriented. I'm just going to show you a preview of this report. So it shows them their listings. It shows any referrals that have come in from other websites. It shows all the web activity. It shows how their listing appeared in search results. It shows all the competition based on the parameters that you put in as well. So it's a really nice tool to continue to market what you're doing for your seller to the seller. And I think sometimes we forget that we do need to continue to market ourselves to the seller during and after that listing period so that they know that we're working as well. So the next thing I want to talk about is how it updates from MLS and what's happening. So when you're in your actual listing, can everybody else see my screen? I've got a gal who says she can't see my screen. And I want to make sure. Laura, you would have entered your name when you registered. So I don't know how you registered or who registered. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Jenny. Laura, I would try logging out and logging back in and see if that helps. Perfect. Thank you. So your listing actually is going to auto pull from MLS, and it's going to show you everything about this listing here. On the right-hand side, you have a section called images, and it's going to pull your images from MLS. However, sometimes MLSs don't export the highest resolution photos with when they're exporting the actual listing. So you can go in and you can upload your own images here. You do that by clicking the upload button. And it's going to warn you that you need to know that when you change your images, it's going to say, hey, we actually see that Candy has uploaded her own images. She does not want it to update from MLS anymore. Do you want to continue and understand? And you would click, yes, I understand. And then you could load your own high resolution photos. To delete the photos in here, you actually can say select all images. And then at the bottom, you can actually delete the images. You also can rearrange them. So I can actually say, hey, I want to rearrange these images. I've also seen agents who will upload the required number of photos to the MLS. So maybe your MLS requires that you have 10 photos, or that's what you want to upload. But then on their company site, they're going in and they're adding additional photos to that so that their site and your site as an agent has more photos of your listings than your competitors does. That's just something I've seen. If you want to do it, great. If you don't want to do it, great. That's just something that I know has happened. You also can attach your virtual video and second video tour here. So if you have a Matterport tour or a video tour that you've done on your phone or a Tour Factory tour, you can actually copy and paste those links here, and that will make them linked to your listings. As I scroll down at the very bottom of the screen, there's two things that I want to just go through. And one is the MLS remarks versus the description. And MLSs have a lot of rules about what you can and cannot say in your remarks. If you want to change what is shown on your website, you can actually go through and you can edit your remarks here. If you do that, you need to also realize this is pulling from MLS. Once you change it, it will no longer update from MLS. If you never change it, it will always update from MLS. So that's a feature that's available to you. The next section underneath this, I think, is really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you another question. And that is, do any of you have sellers that have interesting stories that they share with you about their house? I know not every listing that you take has interesting people that live there. Sometimes they're rentals or they're investment properties, they're past clients, and so you know them really well. But sometimes people have really interesting stories, like this home was built in 1927 and Teddy Roosevelt's grandma's cousin's sister lived here, and they used to have big parties in the garden or something like that. If your seller actually has a story and wants to share it, you can either write it here, or you can actually attach your seller to the listing here. And that gives them access to log in through their portal to see information about their listings. So as a seller, I can also have a portal where I log in and I can see everything about my listing. I can also go in and I can type my own property story. So I can say, hey, this is my house. I want to add a property story here about my listing. And then you as the agent can go through and you can see it here. And if you need to, you can edit it to make sure that it doesn't have anything. I know sometimes sellers can use verbiage that's not necessarily appropriate, or they say something that could offend a certain group. So you as the agent absolutely have control over if that displays or not, but it can be a really cool feature, especially for those unique properties that do have really cool stories behind them. So, oh, that's a really good idea. So, is it Katie? Yeah, it's Katie. So Katie says she always asks them if there's something interesting to share about their home. I know my house, both houses I've lived in, even though one was a newer build and the house I'm in now is one that we're revamping and is old, there's something that's really interesting about both of them. And it's really personal. It gives the agent or the seller a way to give feedback about their home. It also creates a personal and emotional connection for the potential buyer. You might not have enough information space here in your MLS remarks to really sell the house and tell cool stories. So it might be a really cool golf course home with wonderful views. It's super clean, and when the sun rises, it's a great place to have coffee. All of that. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom with a daylight basement and all those details that you need in the MLS remarks. But a story can be a way that you can add a lot of personality. So maybe it's something like they took it down to the studs and built it from there up to really customize it to their home. Maybe they planted every tree in the yard with a certain memory in mind, or they went out to nurseries and they spent all this time really designing the landscape and choosing things that were personally touching to them. Maybe their dog is buried in the backyard, some things like that. But know your audience and who you're talking to, and this is a really good way for sellers to interact. The last couple things I'm going to go through on this listing screen before we really jump into a few of the marketing side of things are up here in the right-hand corner. You can easily print or email a flyer. So if I click here, it's automatically going to start the wizard for selecting content to be created. After I create that content, it automatically goes out and saves underneath my marketing tab. So I can easily create a flyer from here. If I've gone in and I've updated photos, or I've had a just reduced, I want to do a just reduced price or something like that, I can easily print or email a flyer. I also can schedule my open house. So how many of you actually do open houses? I live in the Northwest. It's like -3 degrees here. So open houses are tough right now because no one wants to leave their house. But in the summertime, they're a great source of business. And it looks like most of you are doing open houses. Awesome. I'm going to just add another poll really quickly because I'm curious about this. How many of you are using IQ to schedule your open houses? So let's see, start poll. So how many of you are using open house to schedule your IQ to schedule your open houses? Cool. So here's the cool thing. When I schedule an open house here, so if I say, hey, I'm holding an open house, I'm going to hold an open house on Thursday from 2 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and I'm going to hold one on Saturday from 10:15 to 3:15. Now on the actual website for this listing, it's going to show my open house times. So when I'm sharing my listing and I'm promoting it and I'm actually doing those things, it is showing your open houses as part of your listings on your websites. So that is a super great feature. And I think that people forget that a lot of people are looking online for open houses. The other thing that it does is when people are searching on the web, on your company website, whether it be your company website or your personal website. I'm going to go on my home screen here really quick. They can actually search nearby and see information. They also could say, hey, I want to see homes that have an open house. So I can say, hey, I want to see things that are open house homes, view results. This is actually pulling up my physical location. So our demo site is based out of Las Vegas, so it doesn't pull up any listings in my area. But they can actually go in and they can search. The other thing people can do when they're saving or when they're starting a search here in their portal is they can choose to be notified of open houses. So when you're putting your information in your website about open houses, it's going out to the web. People can find them online. People can see that you're actually hosting. Your sellers can see it, and they can search by location to find open houses. How many of you are actually promoting your open houses online? Are you putting them in your MLS? Are you putting them on your Facebook pages? Awesome. This is really interesting. So most of you are promoting your open houses online, but you're not using the scheduler in IQ. So you're missing a section to be able to promote those open houses online and let people know that you're holding an open house. That's a great opportunity. The next thing we're going to talk about with that is, where do you get the most traffic for marketing your listings, including your open houses? This is an open-ended question. Do you get it from Facebook? Do you get it from your local newspaper? Do you get it from the Nicholsworth? Do you get it from, or the Nicholsworth are like the local ads? You get it from Craigslist. Where is it that you're finding you market your listings and you get information? Awesome. So we've got a couple Facebooks. We've got local paper. We've got the MLS. Signs. Mike, signs are a huge thing. Zillow and Facebook. Social media and personal contacts. Awesome. A lot of Facebook, a lot of signs, and all of that. So the important thing that you think about is you may be getting traction from a lot of sources, and it's clear a lot of you are getting a lot of different sources, and a lot of them are a combination. So a lot of them are combinations of, hey, they're looking at my sign, and a lot of them are combination, and some of them are Facebook and community pages and things like that. And it really becomes making sure that you're reaching people both right here and right here. So you have to have a sign, but you also have to have people be able to find you here. You also have to be able to capture people once they come in. So I want to just talk a little bit about the different websites that you get with your listing. So if I click on this Actions tab, I can actually easily share my listing right from this page. So I can actually go in and I can say, hey, I want to tweet, put it on Facebook, put it on Pinterest, or see the website for this listing. When I open up the details page, it is going to show a basic flyer for a listing. This is just basic information. You can share this easily, but that is what this looks like. It's not anything super fancy. The next website that you have an option to see, though, is a showcase website. And this really showcases the property. It enlarges your photos so that it really shows more information. On your main screen, you can easily see there's 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, the square footage, and the garage doors, and consumers can easily share it. What becomes even more interesting for me on this, though, is as I scroll down on this listing, there's a section that's called Area Information. And it talks about the listing price compared to the rest of the zip code. It talks about the listing in the last few days. It talks about, so price per square foot. It's really interesting to see this. And these are great statistics for sharing on your social media. It also gives the consumer to easily click and search for other houses in this area. And so you can only post pictures of listings and links to listings for so long before people start to think, oh my gosh, this agent is just, you know, Lewis, I'm going to pick on you. It's nothing personal, but Lewis is going to, all he's posting on Facebook is listing after listing after listing after listing. But if you can actually start to take some of the snapshot information and share, you know, this is the price increase, or this is how it compares square footage wise, and this is the information that's coming from the MLS that you can share. Now, everybody on this call has very different rules in MLSs, and your MLSs feed out very different information. But using that details page to find out some of that information is a great tool. The other section that you have is, let me see. And I don't have it on here because this is a demo site. You have something called an SLW, which is a single listing website. And what that does is when you search for that home, it actually brands the URL with the address. So it's completely branded to the property. It makes it really good for search engine optimization. It makes your sellers happy because they see that you made a custom website for them that's branded with their address. And that is one that I really enjoy sharing on social media because it's got the right information. I believe that you should be sharing listings on Facebook, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, probably about once a week. But you should be sharing information about the area surrounding the listings at least 3 times a week. So talking about your area, talking about why people move there, talking about why the neighborhood's so great, talking about, you know, what community events that neighborhood has. Maybe they have a great garage sale. Maybe they have snow right here. We all wish we had snow removal in our neighborhoods. Maybe they have landscaping for your front yard. What is it about the neighborhood that attracts people? Sell the neighborhood to people so that they can see your listing. And use those quick links to actually go in and say, hey, I'm going to share this today on my Facebook page. It's super easy, so I can see here's the information. I can type in all my cool notes. Great home in a wonderful area with fantastic views. And then you can go ahead and you can post to Facebook. The other thing you can do is you could add it to your story if you want. The neat thing about putting it to your story and to your newsfeed is that people automatically get an alert in their notification settings about that you've posted to your story. So if you're sitting in open house and you put your open houses in, you can actually share the listing here, put it to your story, and then do a quick live to your story. I know everybody hates going live. You'll be okay, I promise. Turn the camera around if you don't want to be on the camera and talk about what hours you're there and what's going on. So promoting your open houses are the next thing, because it does seem like a lot of you are using the open house feature. And what I want to do is I want to actually show you that you can go into your open houses and you can have a sign-in page. So I can see here's the open house that I'm hosting. And from here, I can actually access what's called a sign-in page. And this becomes where you can capture leads while you're sitting at an open house. So I can actually go in, I can type the information, my information in, because nobody wants their information out for everybody to see. I can say, hey, I want to move in a month, and maybe I'm using an agent. We all have to respect our fellow realtors and real estate agents, and we want to make sure that if someone's using an agent, we're still making sure that they're signing in for safety purposes and for feedback for your seller. However, I just ask people to put in the comments, oh, you're working with an agent, that's awesome. Would you mind just putting their name in the comments box so I can follow up with them about your feedback on the home? And so if they're working with an agent, they can type that name here. Or if they're not working with an agent, but perhaps they're really interested in the neighborhood, or they're a neighbor or something like that. Oh, you're a neighbor? Perfect. Would you mind just putting that you're a neighbor and that's how you found me, so that I know how you found my open house in there? And people will do that. once they click sign in, they're taken to this screen where it says text this property to me or email this property to me. And if they would like, they can do both. When they do that, it will automatically time out in about 15 seconds to go back to the home screen, or they can click finish and it goes back automatically. I do want to show you what that looks like. So I can actually go in, and give me a sec while this refreshes. And I can actually see that text. Kelsey, thank you for stopping by the open house today. Click here. And here's the information. This is a demo account, so of course that doesn't work. The other thing that I want to just quickly show you is what that email looks like. All it is an email property flyer. This is my personal email. Hang tight while I just open it up. And here's the flyer that goes out. Here's the information, Ruby Drive, all the photos, all the details. I can easily email or call the agent right from here. It automatically goes out within about 10 seconds of actually receiving that information. So they can walk through the house and have the information. Yeah, so there's Kevin in the comment box just said he's been using this and he really likes signing in on the iPad over handwriting on a sheet. He's found that he gets more real contact information this way. So here's the thing. Nobody wants the real contact information sitting out on a piece of paper. I don't want to sign in. I don't want other people to take it down. We live in a land that people really like the privacy. The other thing we live in is a land where people want instant information. And everybody prints out flyers. You know, hey, I have this flyer. I got an open house. Great. And as soon as they get in the car, they go in the back seat of the car and they're used for cleaning up things, or, you know, hey, I'm cleaning out my car and I found it. But saying, hey, you know, you want a print flyer while you're looking out to take notes about the house? That's great. Here's a print flyer. But also, if you want, you can just put your information in, shoot yourself a quick text or an email with all the information for later. So if you want to forward it to a spouse or something, you can, and they get a nice clean copy. And it's instant is a great tool. And it has to be a conversation piece. If you're using a regular sign-in sheet or this sign-in page, no matter what you're using, it does have to be a personal conversation. It has to be about how you talk to people about signing in and what they're going to get. But people do really like the privacy aspect of this. And it's great because if you're not the listing agent and you're hosting the open house, these leads go to the person that's hosting the open house. If the listing agent, if you put in a price change on Friday at 8 o'clock, you don't have to reprint all your flyers that you made, because all of a sudden your seller decided, hey, for open house tomorrow, we're going to reduce the price by, $5,000, and you've got everything set to go. This is live. This is feeding from MLS, and it's a great tool to use. And everybody wants real contact information, but they also want a real person. So the other things that I just want to talk about quickly and touch on is actually going in, and you can create content to add to campaigns. So I can actually go in and I can say, hey, I'm going to create some listing flyers and I'm going to send out listing flyers to this group. So I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to use my company templates, or I'm going to use my company content, whatever it is. I'm going to use the realistic templates. I'm going to create property flyers, and I'm going to say I want a just sold flyer to go out to all my open house prospects. I can select the property. It automatically enters it in, and then that content is created. So as you're capturing people at open houses, if the home use at open sells, you can easily go in, create the content, and add it to a campaign. So you can actually go in and create content for any listing that you have. Again, we just went to marketing. We went to my saved content. We added content. And then we chose our default information. So we chose a property flyer, just sold, selected what we wanted it to look like, and selected the property. It automatically enters it in. You save the content, you can email it out, you can print it out, you can get it out there. So that is a little bit about that. How many of you are using and sending out postcards? I'm just typing this into a survey. Either for just sold or just listed, or I have buyers for your neighborhood. How many of you are using postcards as a method of marketing? Awesome. So about 2/3 of you are, about 1/3 of you are not. Postcards are not for everybody. So for those of you who are not using it, awesome. I hope you have something that's working. If you want to, maybe you're not using them and you would like to, you can actually also go in and create marketing material to print out and have mailed for you in a targeted area for your listing. So I can go, and we talked about this in that email that goes out at the beginning. There was a place for ordering or modifying your postcards. So I can actually go in, and underneath my orders at the top, there's a section where you can actually create postcards. Postcards take between 10 and 14 business days to deliver. So please keep that in mind when you're ordering them. And there are a whole bunch of different categories. Agent promotion. I can say, hey, maybe I want a home value postcard. I'm curious about what your home was worth. I'd be happy to answer that. And you're going to send it out to a targeted area on a listing that you just took. So anything I hover over, I can change. So if you see this little pencil, I can change that. So I can type in text here. It's going to limit your characters so that you don't run into your photo and make it not fit. I can change the photo here, either by editing the image or choosing a listing. So I can say, hey, I'm going to choose my new listing so that they see the picture of the house that the sign just went up at on the postcard. And when I click next, I can choose quantities. So there is a minimum quantity. I'm in a demo site. Sorry for that, guys. So the minimum quantity that you're going to enter is 100. Let's see if I can go to another site real quick and do this for you. So marketing, my orders, create an order. And I'm going to go through the process again here quick while that loads up. And you can just type in the address. So if I say, hey, I did a home value postcard, we'll choose this one. Again, I can edit this and choose a listing if I have a listing. Or if I have a company listing that I can use. Some companies share their listings, so I can say, hey, I'm going to use, let's see, I'll use this listing here. I want to use this photo, and it's going to auto enter it in. When I click next, I have the option to say, do I want to send the targeted list to the closest homes to that address that I entered in? This is a great way to reach the neighborhood. It's also a great way to reach a neighborhood if you know that it's a filler neighborhood. So if you know this neighborhood is a neighborhood that feeds from this neighborhood, this is the starter entry-level home, and then from this neighborhood, they move into this neighborhood, you can type whatever address you want in this spot. You do have to order a minimum of 100. And in the notes, you can add notes like, if your photo had a white background and the text is white, please make text black, not showing up on front of postcard. It's going to tell you the price, 65 cents each. When I click next, it's going to give me a summary. So it's going to say, hey, you're going to have $97.50. And then it's going to ask me for my payment. So I put in my payment information, I submit my payment, or I say pay later. Now I can see that the status of this order is pending, my payment is pending, and I can edit it until my payment is no longer pending. So that is the information. We're about 43 minutes past the hour, so about 15 till. I want to make sure that at the end of this, we have a chance to answer all of the questions that you have. So I've got about 15 minutes at the end of this session reserved for questions and answers. There's no such thing as a silly question. If you have a question, someone else probably also has that question. Glenn, I want to come back to your question. I want to make sure that I answered it. You'd asked about pictures being added and updated. And if you're talking about your website, yes, it will automatically update. For the auto flyer that goes out, no, it will not auto update once you do that. You have to go in and recreate it. Other questions, comments, or concerns? So the next challenge for all of you is to look at your calendar and take your calendar out right now and figure out a time and day that you're actually going to go in and you're going to spend some time attaching action plans, setting up your default flyers, and really making sure you're setting yourself up for success when it comes to your listings and connecting with your sellers. So you're setting up your seller reports, you're adding action plans to your listings, and you're going in and you're actually promoting things. So have you put a time on your calendar? Here it is. So that is really the question. It's time to put this on your calendar. It's time to make sure that you're scheduling time for yourself to build your business. If you don't put it on your calendar, it will never, ever, ever, ever happen. All right. So, and the good news is I can't see who's voting no, but taking the time to make sure you're setting yourself up for success every week. You're putting an action plan in with your listing. You're making sure that you're attaching your seller. You're making sure that you're promoting it and putting your open houses in, that you're really taking time to connect with your seller and do the best you can to market that property and get information out about the property. So we've got a few people who have not answered yet. I'm really curious if we can get everybody to answer. Of course, Ramona. Ramona would like to know, just quickly walk through how to order postcards again. And I'm more than happy to do a whole bunch of these. Can you show me one more time? Because it's a lot of information and there's a lot that you can do. So to order postcards, you're going to go to this marketing tab, and then you're going to go up to my orders. Once you're underneath your orders, you're going to click the plus order in the upper right-hand corner. And then you're going to select the layout that you would like, and you're going to walk through the wizard. It's going to ask you for the details. It's going to ask you for the quantity, and then you're going to pay for them. Rebecca or Ramona, did that answer your question? So action plans. How do you go in and set up an action plans? This is going to be fast. I just want you all to know I don't want you to be frustrated with this. There is a video that will walk you through it step by step, but I do want to make sure you know where to go. So underneath this tools preferences gear, you can actually go in and you go to my action plans. John, I'm going to come to your question next. And then I click create new. And then underneath my action plan type, I choose listings. And I name it. Maybe this is just reduced. And then once I've created an action plan, I can go in and I can add individual items. So again, I went to tools and preferences. I went to my action plans. I created a new action plan. And then I opened it up and I added new items. Kevin, does that answer your question? How do I share with other realtors? John, are you trying to share your listing with other realtors, or are you trying to share What are you trying to share with other realtors? The website, open houses. I just need a little bit more information. So you can actually go in, John. Have you added the agents that you want to send your listings to within IQ? This is a good question. So I really believe that IQ Office is meant to connect with your customers. Perfect. So your customers are consumers and your realtors are your peers. Your other real estate agents are your peers and they're part of your MLS system. So I personally don't send out listings to other agents. I think that if they want to see my listing, they can look it up in MLS. If you want to do that, if you want to say, hey, make a list of the top 100 or 200 or 300 real estate agents, or if you know, hey, I know this agent, he's got a client for this, we talked about it last week and I just need to email him one up, you can either add those people into your contact list, or what I would do is I would actually go to the listing. I would say, hey, I know that I talked to this person and they are the land guru and this is a really cool piece of land. Just pretend with me because I don't have a land listing. And I would say, hey, I just need to email this to them. I'm just going to email them a quick flyer. Here's the information. And I'm going to actually say, I'm just going to write an email for you. So this is just going to pull from the listing. I'm going to save it and email it. And when I do that, I can just type in their email address here. So I could type in John's name here and say, thought you might be interested. And then if I need to, I can say, hey, John, I want to make sure that you saw this new listing that was on the market. I thought of you and how much you do I know you have a lot of land clients. Let me know if you have anyone for it. So that is how I would go about doing it. Keeping in mind that really the goal is connecting the information with your clients and your customers and using it in that way. John, does that answer your question on how you would do it? You're welcome, Jennifer. Perfect. Let's see. Laura asked, does open house information flow from MLS to IQ? And that is a question for your office administrator. It depends on the MLS and if the MLS feeds it out. So sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is no. Without knowing your particular MLS, Laura, I do not have a good answer for that. If you are the office administrator and you don't know the answer to that, it's a question that you should be asking your MLS and the help desk. And if it's not set up, it can do it as long as your MLS does feed that information out. But some MLSs don't feed it out. Perfect. Other questions? We've got about 10 minutes left till the top of the hour, and I want to make sure I'm respecting all of your time and that you're getting where you're going. And I know that weekends are busy and today's your day to really catch up. I also really want to encourage you, if you haven't joined our Facebook page, you can do that. It's, let me pull it up here. It's Realistic Users. We're more than happy to answer all of your questions there and really help get information out. So here is the Facebook group. We would love to have you join us. There's also a YouTube channel. So you can actually go into our YouTube channel and there's a lot of, all our webinars are posted here. There's more information on quick how-tos underneath here. So it's Realistic Support. This is a great tool for you as well. And we'd love to have you be part of the conversation. We want to make sure that they're better. The last thing I'm going to ask you is at the end of this webinar, there is a survey, and I really do read all your results and all your feedback. So if you have feedback for me on information you would like to see, or something that you liked, or something that you didn't like, please take just a couple minutes and answer that survey. I really appreciate all the feedback that I can get. I'm here to help you guys learn, and I want to make sure that I'm delivering good content. Other questions for anybody has? You all will get a recording of this webinar. It takes about half hour for the video to render, and it will be emailed out to you. It also will be posted on the Facebook and the YouTube channel as well for you to view. I'm just going to hang for a couple more minutes then. If there are no other questions, want to make sure that you all have some time in your day to go hit the road and get running. It's a great time of year. It's super exciting that spring is coming, and we all hopefully have some better weather on the way here. You're welcome, Barb. Any other questions? All righty. Well, it looks like many of you are jumping out to start working. Yep. So, John, the YouTube channel is Realistic Support. If you just type in Realistic in YouTube, John, it'll come up for sure. Do you want me to just send you the link real quick? Let me put the link in the chat box. You're welcome, Jenny. Let's see if I can find you, John, and just send that directly to you. Yeah, no problem. All right, gang. Well, we will see you next Monday. Monday mornings at 8 a.m. are our standing date for webinars, and we look forward to talking to you then. Have a great day.